Welcome and thank you for joining me on Alpha News. Today I have a guest with an amazing story about her family fleeing communists and coming to America as refugees. Now she's running for Congress in the 4th District and recently was endorsed by the GOP. Before I bring her on, I want to show you a snippet of her story. Take a look.
This is the face of a superhero. In 1979, she was living in Laos under the oppression of communism. With her husband and young family, she risked her life to escape. For weeks, she fled through thick jungle and became separated from her husband. When she reached the border on the Mekong River, it was swollen with monsoon rain. Her only hope for life was across the raging water. So she swam into the current, tied to an old inner tube. She carried a child in a basket on her back and 2 more in her arms. And she was 7 months pregnant. She fought against the dark current, with bullets flying over her head, struggling for hours to reach a light on the distant shore. She was ready to give up when she felt the bottom under her feet. She crawled out of the water and collapsed on the muddy bank. She was found by Thai soldiers the next day, and her life as a refugee began. Her name is Lor Xiong, and she's my mother. I was the baby she carried inside her. My name is Lor Xiong.
When I saw that clip of your family history, I nearly cried because it hits home for many of the Hmong people here in the Twin Cities. Can you tell us a little bit more about your parents' journey from the refugee camps to America?
Sure. So after my mom crossed the Mekong River into the refugee camp to Ban Vinai in 1979, one of my sisters, the younger sister, passed away. She passed away, I want to say a few weeks before I was born. So I just can't even imagine being my mom to deliver a baby and at the same time you're mourning. It's As a mom, it's very difficult to just imagine what she's going through at that time. And shortly after that, when I was born, she said that I also got really sick, and she got really sick, and we almost died too. But with the help of relatives, we were able to survive. And at the age of 8, we were able to, immigrate here to the United States. I remember, just like the video, I remember, landing in Minneapolis for the first time, just seeing tall buildings and seeing streetlights. And I thought, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know where I was. I thought this was heaven. There's just so many stars. And I thought those lights were stars. And I was trying to reach. I was in the car, you know, and my hand was reaching out to just try to grab those stars. So I thought. And they're like, no, those are street lights. At night they turn on the lights so that way, cars can see and drivers can see. So that was really new for me too.
What year did your family come to the U.S.?
In 1987, September of 1987,
1987.
when we landed in Minneapolis.
Your dad, along with thousands of other Southeast Asian boys and men, fought secretly alongside the CIA during the Vietnam War, helping American soldiers fight against communists. You have children of your own who are also warriors. Can you tell me about them?
Yes. So my oldest son is in the National Guard here in Minnesota, and he's been serving for about over 6 years now. And my youngest son is in the Navy. He's stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. And they just have the passion and such patriots for this country. They wanted to take part of saving or being part of America, where they can give back to this country, and they decided that they want to join the military so that way they can serve this country, just like my dad did. I also have brothers that were also in the U.S. military too, and so I come from a military background. My dad served with the U.S. Army in Laos since he was 14 years old, and through his stories and what he has done to help protect America. And I kept saying he protected America when he didn't even know where America was. But he knew that fighting for America meant fighting for freedom. And that's what he did. And so through his stories, inspired my brothers to join the military. And then my sons joined the military. So, as we were talking, uh, we were saying my oldest son, his mission is to serve and protect Minnesota. My youngest son, his mission is to serve and protect the world. And now my mission is to protect and serve America.
Yeah.
So,
Coming from a military family, has that shaped your view and position on national defense and the border?
definitely, and even as an immigrant and, hearing stories of how they had to escape communism, the stories that a lot of our parents and our Hmong veterans, hearing those stories and having brothers and children that serve the military, it's definitely, for a country to protect their border. And if we don't do that, are we a country? So those are things that, I think about. And I'm just thinking how we, right now, with the chaos of what's happening down, in our border, the chaos that's going on right now, illegals coming in, especially criminals that are smuggling drugs and killing our Americans and affecting our communities. That's huge. And on top of that, we have human trafficking that is, their criminals are allowed to go freely in and out of this country. And we have to do something to protect America and to protect the people in this country.
hmm You know, the other side might argue, well, you're an immigrant yourself. You might not be an illegal immigrant, but you're an immigrant yourself. So shouldn't you have some compassion for these people? What do you have to say to them?
And that's great. Yes, I am an immigrant, but my parents, we came here legally. And I would love for all immigrants to come here the legal way. Because when you come here the legal way, when you have the paperwork and you're able to um, live here where you're paying taxes, you're able to do so much more. You don't have to hide behind somebody, or to be take advantage of other people who you are living with, because sometimes they have that power over you because you're an illegal, so they think that they're trying to support you, and you don't know what kind of advantage they will take over. But if you come here legally, you're able to, get a job. You're able to start businesses, and you're able to go to school and to pursue the American dreams that you come here for.
Yeah. As we stated earlier, Americans saw Hmong refugees flee from their country into the US in hopes of a better and safer life for their families. And most recently, it was the Afghan refugees. We also have a big Karen and Somali community here in the Twin Cities. And these are people that truly understand what it means to be stripped of their freedom. The US is the land of the free, right? But now we're seeing freedom of speech being attacked. The COVID-19 mandates, have forced many Americans to choose between their livelihoods or beliefs. We have people advocating for less guns. Do you think the radical left or the left in general is a threat to our freedoms?
Definitely. Um, you know, there is a reason why a lot of people they want to come to this great country. This country we're allowing to pursue our dream, to get in higher education, to start our own business. We would not find that in a lot of countries around the world. And But right now, they're trying to take away our freedom of speech, as you know. As immigrants, we coming from communism, and being manipulated or controlled. This is something that we have to make sure that we protect. Uh, the freedom that we have in this country.
Yeah.
Second Amendment is important. Second Amendment is not an issue for the people who are, who has the legal permit to carry. They're not the problem. The problem is the criminals. The crime is not from people who has a license to carry. It's the criminals that are um, killing innocent people. That are being destructive in this country.
hmm And I have to ask, because we come from similar backgrounds and we understand the Hmong culture, what is it like being Hmong and conservative? Have you gotten any pushback from family or friends?
When I first started, talking about the idea of being a conservative, what it means, I did get a lot of pushback from friends and families, but I think that a lot of times it's just misinformation or a misunderstanding of what we stand for. You would be surprised that even younger people who speak the language and their parents been telling them, or they've been, they hear all their lives saying, "Oh, we're Democrat, right?" And they don't research and they don't think about what does it mean to be a Democrat? And it's that idea has just been ingrained in them, and they just assume that yeah, we're all Democrats because we're Asian or because we're Hmong or because we're a minority, and that the Democrat will take care of us. Um, they they're supporting us or they're giving us you know freebies and so therefore they're really helping us. I know that I also have, quite a few Hmong friends. They're Republicans, and they're so afraid to talk to other friends because or other families because they're Democrats. They don't want to get attacked. And I said, if we don't talk about it, we don't voice what we stand for, and we don't voice about our beliefs and why we're here, then they'll never know. They'll never be able to understand why we're on this side, because this side is not about being racist. This side is not about just a white rich men. We see so many diverse groups that are part of this because we have realized over the years that the Democrat has changed so much. Their view has changed so much.
What's your advice to some of these Republican candidates or Republican leaders when it comes to integrating themselves into different cultures?
Well, that is something that I am bringing to the party. I I have talked to a lot of the candidates and also the GOP chairman. I said, one of the things that I would love to see this year, because it is so important that we as Republicans come together and we can no longer sit behind um, just, and go and talk to white voters. We have to make sure that we go to the Latino community, the Quran community, and we go to the Black community and, all Hmong communities. So that way they get to know who we are. We can no longer just sit here and allow the Democrats to say, that's a racist group. They're not going to help you. We have to also be vocal. We have to also be out there in those communities and engage and talking to them and talk about issues, because all of us right now are feeling the inflation that's affecting a lot of families. I live in St. Paul, where the majority of my families and students live. I live among, places where, you see on the news where, the cars are getting carjacked and, crimes are happening. And we cannot be afraid to go out to these places and say, you know what? we have the same concerns, and we're just the same as you, and we want to make sure that this place is a safe place to raise a family. It's a safe place for women and children to go out at night, or to the store without being afraid of getting carjacked or getting robbed.
I want to talk about your career as an educator. You were an educator for years. From your experience as a teacher, what are your thoughts on where the school system is headed, and would you change anything about it?
Mhm. So I've been before I became a teacher, I was an interpreter in St. Paul Public Schools, and I advocate for a lot of the families, especially Hmong families. But one of the reasons I became an ESL teacher, English as a second language teacher, I when I went to school when I first came to this country, my ESL teacher was the one that inspired me and helped me to learn English. And so when I became a teacher, I wanted to, serve and give back to the community, especially immigrant students who are trying to learn the language and trying to pursue their American dream. And for so long, for about over 20 years, you know, I've been telling my students, hey, you know what? If you work hard and you learn how to read and write and do your math and what have you, you are going to, you can become whatever you want to, because in this country, as long as you work hard and you pursue, your passion, you're going to get there. Some of us, it's harder, and some of us have it easy, but no matter what, if you pursue and you work really hard, you're going to get there. Um, and I feel like the education right now is heading the wrong direction, where we're trying to, um, indoctrinate our students to think a different way, especially with CRT, and in public schools right now.
Yeah.
As a teacher, I don't want and I don't need to tell my students of color, saying that the system and the white people are going to oppress them, and that's absolutely not true. I believe that if they work hard, um, they can become whatever they want, and that's always been my message, and I will not change that message. um, Schools, especially public schools, should focus on the basics to teach our students, so that way they can um, pursue their dreams or their goal. Whatever they might want to be, a doctor, a lawyer, own a business, or whatever. But that's a really important message, is that we just need to teach them the basics, and we don't need to indoctrinate them in school.
May Ramsey and Washington counties are predominantly pretty liberal. Do you think voters will change direction and choose a Republican to represent them this time? And if so, why?
This year is a special year, and I think that with the Biden administration, um, doing so poorly with the border control, with inflation, and with their socialist agendas in schools, I think a lot of families, especially parents with children, they will have to think twice in November who they want to be representing them in office. And right now, our focus is to talk to families. I know that, with the gas prices going up, and with inflation happening in this country, it is going to be very hard for families to get by. And so, and especially with Biden administration, constantly printing money. And who's going to end up paying for, America's debt? It's going to be our children and our future. And we have to put a stop to that. And also with the crime rate right now that's happening in Washington County and Ramsey County, they're not really doing anything about it. Especially by Betty. Where is Betty? 2 years ago, when our small businesses were looted and burned down. It breaks my heart because I did not see any politicians, especially Betty representing City 4, anywhere to talk to these business. They lost their livelihood, um, and and I was the one out there sweeping and cleaning up with them, and that angers me to the point where I feel like if we allow Betty and Biden administration to continue, it's going to be a disaster. We're going to continue to see inflation going, higher than what we are experiencing right now, and we're going to see crime rates higher at where we're seeing right now. In fact, um, when I announced that I was running for Congress, my sister's car got stolen that night. Um, the police couldn't even do anything about it. And this is a criminal who does this on a daily basis, and they know who he is, and there was no accountability. And we have to make sure that we support our law enforcement. At the same time, providing training so that way they can serve and protect our communities, and so at the end of their shift, they can also go home safely too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure having you on. And if people want to learn more about you and the issues that you prioritize, where can they do that?
Yes, so they can go to my website, May4, the number 4mn.com. So it's May4mn.com. If they like to volunteer or donate, they can definitely go to my website, learn about issues or where I stand, and events coming up.
Okay,
So
thank
I
you.
appreciate
And
so much for this opportunity to talk to you. This is actually my first time, so I'm a little nervous, but thank you so much for making it very easy for me.
of course, you did great. Thank you so much. And for our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our free daily newsletter on alphanews.org and our YouTube channel. I'll see you next time.